Well, should you or shouldn't you? And I mean, should you wear those gloves or shouldn't you wear those gloves? So today we're going to continue our journey in regards to genealogical standards based on genealogical standards, of course, with the usual caveat of I don't represent the board for certification of genealogists. I'm just an associate. So today we're going to talk about Standard 20, careful handling. And that's why I mentioned, should you wear those gloves or not wear those gloves? And the truth of the matter is, when handling textual records, you should wear gloves when somebody tells you you should wear gloves. Do I wear gloves when I wear textual records in the absence of someone telling me? No, because I find that those gloves are abrasive and they're like running sandpaper over the records. You just have to make sure your hands are clean and dry. But let's read number 20. Standard 20, careful handling. Genealogists treat all source materials and images of source materials carefully, with regard for their preservation and future availability. See glossary for definitions of image and source. Imagine here what they're talking about is photographs when they're talking about images and not really talking about digital images, because I'm wondering how you would handle a digital image carefully other than to be sure that it doesn't become corrupted and disappear from the system you're using. One of the things you're going to encounter as a genealogist is you're going to find that some records are stapled together in such a way that you can't photocopy them or copy them appropriately with your camera or other device. And you'll be tempted to remove that staple or that fastener so that you can get to it, but recognize that's probably against the rules, and that someone in the facility is going to have to remove that fastener or that staple, or inform you that according to the policies of that institution, they don't allow that. What's most important in careful handling is that you follow the rules of the repository in which you are sitting, and that you also recognize that records are fragile and that they won't last very long if you don't treat them well. You should treat them as if they were fragile and delicate and on the verge of destruction, and you don't want to be the responsible person. Many times while sitting in the National Archives, when my day was done, I would find dust all over my table and little flakes of paper. It was very irritating to me because I always attempt to be very careful, because I want to be able to find these records again and have these records remain available to individuals, because once they deteriorate to a point where they're so fragile that they shouldn't be touched, and there aren't sufficient funds for preservation or time for preservation, they'll take the records off the shelf and no one will be able to touch them. I'm thinking of right now Confederate muster rolls. Can't touch them. So careful handling. Always keep in mind that things are delicate and you have to treat them so. So this has been Craig. This has been Just Genealogy. And wear those gloves if they tell you to. Don't wear those gloves if they don't tell you to. In other words, you shouldn't be traveling with gloves unless you know that the facility that you're going to requires gloves and requires that you bring gloves. That's a question you might want to ask before you get there. Have a great day.